So, Vanessa, I'm really curious what your thoughts on this are as a suburban mother of young children. What do you think of this idea that someone's actively trying to sow discord between you and the people who literally live next door to you?
Yeah, I mean, I already feel outnumbered by my community because I lean conservative, obviously, and I'm smack in the middle of DC, a suburb in DC, and it's funny. Somebody made a comment about how you can tell who the conservatives are because they're the ones who are flying the American flags. And, somebody asked me when I was going to vote, would you put the person's name up in your yard? And the answer was no. I really don't want my neighbors to know my politics. I don't want to have the conversation. I've got a nice big Jeep that I don't want messed with.
But this is why the cult forms, because these people, it
makes me not want to engage, and that's what's scary.
Well, what I'm saying is, if they don't ever see it, they assume it's fringe or doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And there's probably a bunch of people in your neighborhood who do agree with you, but the people who are in the cult think everyone thinks the same way they do because you don't want to put signs up in your yard.
If I did not have two very small children, I would be a little more fearless about it, but I don't want my stuff smashed because somebody sees, maybe if I was supporting Trump, I don't want them seeing a Trump sticker, whoever runs.
I suppose the issue then is if you think you can keep your head down and they won't come and smash your stuff, you're wrong. And by your unwillingness to actually stand up for yourself is only making the problem worse.
No, I mean that's a fair. I mean, and I work with some different groups who are recruiting parents to run for school board, and that's this is the big conversation that they're having too, which is how like are you going to be too scared to get up in your community to really help kind of take back the education system? It's this is what I'm saying though. As a suburban mom, it is scary because you have to worry about your kids and how your kids are going to fit in and how people are going to treat your children. And that's why I also think that my demographic is the hardest to figure out where we're at politically, because most women, I think, feel my way. It's like, we're going to vote how we vote, but we don't want to talk about it.
Why would you want your kids hanging out with their kids?
You're right.
They're going to be grooming your kids.
This is a conversation that I've had with my husband too about leaving the area and going to a red state.
Even Eastern West Virginia. I think it's funny to say Eastern West Virginia. The schools have been infiltrated by the woke. Because when they run for school board, they don't put any affiliation, and they know they have to lie. When the Republicans were questioning those witnesses the other day, and they refused to condemn infanticide, it's because they know if they admitted their position, people would recoil in horror. So they know they have to lie. So what happens is in these West Virginian schools, you have wokeness, critical race theory, and gender ideology, and they tell the kids, hide it from your parents. It's even in West Virginia. You got to go deeper into West Virginia to get away from it. And there's been a big backlash where locals finally started figuring out what's going on with their kids, and now people are pulling their kids out. That's a big thing that's happening.
So I come from a single mom home, and we used to kind of joke. I mean, she was able to make it to all my soccer games. She made it to all my sporting events, but she worked her butt off all the time to make sure that my sister and I were supported. And, there was one time I was busting her balls, and it's probably not even fair for me to have done this looking back now, but, she couldn't name my math teacher one year. And how many, these parents who work, these parents who don't have the capacity to engage with school boards, all this stuff. I mean, this, critical race theory and the gender ideology teachings, it's happening and parents have no idea. And I actually think it's worse with these more rural schools without so many eyes on them, because they have staff that aren't really being checked. Like, a teacher can probably get away with more because the parents aren't as tuned in. The school board's not as tuned in. They can kind of, I don't know. I know that there was some teachers kind of in rural Wisconsin who were getting in trouble for this. And anyway, to your point though, my husband and I have talked about leaving, and it's
West Virginia.
Hard.
It's a great place to be.
You made a good point that it's fiscal, that people can't afford to spend time to go to their child's school. My mom was involved because she had the luxury of having a husband that worked.
Yeah.
Probably the only reason. If she had to work, she never would have been. She couldn't have done it.
Nope.
So it's an economic thing. A lot of this is economic, and you have no obligation to stage your partisanship publicly. We have secret ballots for a reason. People that want to virtue signal with signs in their yard, you're welcome to, but no one is expected to do that.
Well, that's why the joke in my neighborhood is that the people who are the ones, flying American flags, which I do, that's our
way of saying.
That's our way. It's so more subtle, but I mean, I don't think it's really even that subtle. I think everyone in the neighborhood thinks that.
I told Seamus Coughlin to put a rainbow behind him, a rainbow flag behind him on the show, and he said, I think that would send the wrong message. And I said, why? Because the rainbow is God's covenant to Noah that he would not flood the earth again. And so I said, why would you not fly your own sign out of fear that people would get the wrong idea, instead of just telling people what the right idea is and standing behind symbols that were historically used by Christians? And he said, well, okay, maybe if it's like an actual rainbow and it says something on it, we made that. And I was like, yes, let's do that. So right now, you have people who are saying, I will not express my support for what I believe in other than to subtly and secretly do it in a way like flying the American flag.
Okay, well, I will say that for a lot of conservatives, politics is not our religion. It's nowhere close to our religion. Right. And the way the left views politics, it is their religion. Right. And so, I want to be judged by my Christian faith. I want to be judged by, just not who I vote for. And for me to brand my home, my car, whatever, with these campaign signs, with these campaign stickers, it's basically asking for this engagement with somebody who doesn't see the fight the same way I do. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's more than two political parties also. People are blind. Some people are blinded into the left-right paradigm.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I have never, like in the last few elections, there has not been a candidate who I do fully support, who I do want to fly a flag for, or hang up a sign for, because I'm not wholly behind that person. And so I guess that's another answer to your question. But when the left when the left views politics as religion and I don't, it takes away my will to fight, because it's like I'm fighting with a crazy person who does not have even the same value system as I do. But engaging these people is extremely important.
It's beyond a different value system. Mm-hmm. I remember watching something when I was a little kid. I don't remember what it was. But it was something about religion. Maybe it was like something I watched in school. And it was a Christian who was captured in a conflict with Muslims. Like it was like a Crusades thing or something like that. And they told him to renounce his God. And he said, no. Yep. And they were like, if you don't renounce your God, we'll kill you. And he said, then I'll die. Mm-hmm. And they kill him. And I thought that was so dumb. I'm like, you're saying words. You're just saying words. Like, you will live if you just say, oh, yeah, oh, man, oh, wow, you're so right. I totally do. And I never understood. Because I think, try and survive. But now, seeing what's going on in this country and in this world with the woke, psychotic, nonsense, and watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, how many lights are there? And now I get it. So you see these people. It's not just a difference of values. It is you see the color blue, they see the color green. Mm. They literally do not see the same thing as you.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter what you say to them. They will get violent and they will attack you because they're in a cult and they're in a violent cult.
Wreck my Jeep.
It matters what you say. You can communicate. If they see a symbol, then that's going to be challenging. Because, like, for instance, this Nazi swastika was like remnant of like a Hindu symbol of the wheel of life. It's like a mirror image of it. So if I were to put a mirror image of the swastika behind me, that's not going to put forth a good message. Even though I know it's a symbol of peace. Yes, it's going to piss a lot of people off.
I was in Austin, and there's an antique shop. It's a famous antique shop, and they got swastikas all over the joint. They're the real ones, not the Nazi one. They're the inverted Hindu ones. And I asked the guy about it, and he's like, oh, yeah, I got it on my keychain. We've got mugs here. And he's like, in the early 1900s, these were all over everyone's houses. They were good luck symbols. And then I was like, you're not worried about people seeing that? And he's like, nope. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's bold to be willing to be like, I assert what this means and, do something about it.
I think there's a time and a place to utilize symbology for your cause, because if the temperature was right politically or symbolism that I could
Boondock Saints reference. Sorry, I had to do it.
I could show the swastika, reverse mirror image swastika. Like I could do it if the environment was ready for it.
Yeah.
Then you can have the discussion and show the symbol, but otherwise it's just it's like a spark with wet wood. It's not gonna set anything. It's not gonna catalyze anything. It's just gonna, people are like, why are you setting that? Why are you trying to? So
I'm gonna make the symbol for individual liberty, personal responsibility, and freedom, like a puppy or something.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like a little dog, like playing with a toy.
Golden retriever.
And that's all it will be.
Yes.
A baby golden retriever on a flag, because we have the means to print these beautiful images on flags these days.
Yeah.
And then people will be like marching angry, like, rah, like with this flag with like a little golden retriever puppy, like playfully playing.
Well, that's basically what the left does, right? Like
Yeah.
they wrap their
Lives
craziness
matter.
in
Yeah.
pretty untouchable packages, and then we're all evil for going against
Yeah,
it.
like the cat o' nine tails. Each lash is a different color as they
So beautiful.
flog
Yeah,
you with
that's
it.
a great idea. Say, before we move on, I did want to say, I know it's different when you ask a mom what she wants to do about it than when you ask a dad what he's going to do about it.
Yeah.
Because moms take a very different approach than dads can and should. And I also wanted to say that I think this is a deeply cultural problem because, like Ian was saying, it does require 2 incomes to survive. Like very much where we are, especially, it's very expensive to live. I know the cost of living isn't cheap. Both parents have to be working to some extent. And I understand it's hard. But at the same time, you could flip it on its head and be that person who's so nice, so friendly, and so involved in the community that when they find out that you support someone like, I don't know, Youngkin or Ron DeSantis.
That's kind of always my goal.
Right.
You know, I always kind of find that I have a very, very close knit group of friends,
Right.
and I have a lot of friends, guys. But, you know, those who I know feel differently than I do politically, I kind of wait.
Right.
And it's almost like I have this personal moment where I come out to them and I get to kind of break it to them like, look, I know you respect me as a person, as a mom, as a friend. I respect you. And it's sad, but it feels like in this area, because everybody is so hyper political, you know, you have to kind of own or earn that trust first as somebody who leans conservative before you break it to them.
That's a good thing.
I got an idea.
Oh, boy.
What you do is you hold a local community gathering, and you say it's going to be a big event
Coming out party.
for Pride or something, right?
Yeah.
When people show up,
With my puppy dog flag.
what they're going to see is you get a venue with a bunch of TVs, and on all of the TVs are like, you know, rainbow flags. And then once everyone's inside, you say, everyone gather around for a group photo. And then you press a button, all the TVs turn to Trump 2024. And then a bunch of Trump flags unfurl, and you start taking pictures.
Everybody's
and that's
freaking
it.
out.
And then you post them all on Facebook. There
my
you go.
gosh.
Instead of gender reveals,
Montgomery County.
Instead
Goes red.
of gender reveals, you have political party reveals.
Yes.
And it boofs in a
But
different-
think about what would happen, right? All these
That's
woke
what it
people,
feels like.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
truly.
all these woke people show up and they're all standing there smiling for a photo that says Trump 2024, just like across the walls, banners. And then you post it online. They're gonna be like, I swear that's not what I was there
I
for.
didn't
They're gonna be
know.
like, you're lying. You're a Trump supporter.
You're canceled.
It would just cause so much discord because the left likes eating each other, destroying themselves,
Be
that
fun.
it would eviscerate.
There was a
Whatever
guy who
movement they had.
there was a guy who was going to all the protests in 2020 and putting Trump stickers on the back of all their cars.
Didn't someone got attacked for that? I think.
Yeah, I think
there
so.
was a video of like a
too
woman. They
bad.
threw a brick through her window
That's
because someone put a Trump sticker on her car at the protest or
jeez.
something like that.
That's crazy.
that's vandalism, by the way.
It is.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, don't put stickers on people's cars.
Yeah,
very
that's
bad.
not your property.
But in this area, you know, even before January 6th, the 2020 election was so freaking polarized. Like, there's no way anybody in my neighborhood, even if they were a Trump supporter, would have admitted it in with a yard sign or something, because you are asking for a brick through your window.
Sure,
You're asking for it.
That's why we have secret ballots, because people would get lynched in the
Yeah.
past for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you're under no.
Yeah, but what you do is it's so simple.
You are right, though. I mean, activism is so important. You have to make the case. You have to fight for your communities. You have to run for school board. You have to fight back.
Do you live in like a residential area with like
Yes.
next door neighbors or right next to you and everything? So what you got to do is you got to buy what's called a ghillie suit. Do you know what a ghillie suit
Oh
is?
my gosh.
For a sniper, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like a bush cut. You're like
Yeah,
a,
that's what I thought it was. I was
Yeah,
like,
you're like,
is he
wait,
saying this?
who is
Okay,
this?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Then you put the signs up in your yard, and then you get a couple of your friends, maybe your husband and his friends, and they just, lie out and wait. And then when someone comes by with the brick, they just walk up very, very politely and just grab the brick and say, no.
Well, I could also Home Alone them, right? Macaulay Culkin.
I believe that's illegal.
Dancing in the windows.
Apparently, booby trapping your house is illegal.
No. She's talking about when the mannequins are like dancing.
Oh, that you can do.
Well, what's that crazy movie he plays with the Tommy gun?
Oh, yeah.
It's not a real movie that was actually made for it.
Way to ruin the
Well, we can still get the audio.
You used the movie from Home Alone.
Filthy animal.
Yeah, there you go.
Joe Pesci's best.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy that played the two robbers?
Yes.
Joe Pesci and
I can't ever
Daniel
think of
Stern.
what an amazing voiceover actor. Love him.
You know, he directed Rookie of the Year, the baseball movie with the kid who can throw the ball really hard. It's the only time he directed. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Movie moment with Brett.
Yeah, and he was the voice of the adult dude on Wonder Years, right? Wasn't that him?
Yes.
Yeah. So we had a security issue. I'm not going to say exactly where, but personal. And I was like, we have ghillie suits because Luke bought ghillie suits.
He looks great in ghillie suits.
And then I was like, all right, let's do this. And then the issue stopped. So we never actually had a chance to get the guys out in ghillie suits to go out and lay in the fields.
Yeah.
You got to do a whole show in them.
That'd be
one
fun.
whole show just
Luke
sitting
wanted
here
to do
in
it.
bushes.
Yeah, let's.
Luke wanted to do it. He's like, everybody should wear a ghillie suit.
Talking bushes.
I do want to point out that, you mentioned the part about the American flags. I remember during the election, Rogan O'Hanley, the DC Drano, he pointed out, he said, is it weird that lately just seeing an American flag, I automatically assume that they're Republican? I said, because I'm not a Republican, and I know I have friends who are, my last boss at my last job was a, blue dog Democrat, believed in owning firearms, but was so anti-Trump it was hard to believe. I said, I don't think that's necessarily true, that somebody's just because they support the American flag or that means that they're Republican. But I definitely think that it does mean a lot to say that they probably aren't far left, because they're the ones who every time you have to post something for 4th of July, there's that one dude who has to come into your page and be like, why would you post that hate symbol of a flag in your thing? They're just there to ruin everything.
Well, I think that's kind of what the issue is that everything is such a slippery slope now into the culture wars. And it's like, okay, well, I want to support, Black Lives Matter. And then that turns into now I can't, stand for the anthem. And now the flag is offensive. And
you have to support infanticide.
And you have to support infanticide. It's a whole package deal.
Yeah.
And it just, everything feels like such a freaking slippery slope now. And nobody wants to touch any issue.
Seamus made a good point. He said, if anything, the left's proven it's not a slippery slope at all. It's a sheer cliff, and it's just straight down.
Do you think the average person is clued into abortion beyond the idea that they just think it's...
I hung out in New York with a friend of mine I've known for a really long time, and he talks politics sometimes. And he said, this is crazy that they're going to be banning abortion and stuff like that. He wasn't as ignorant to think that the Supreme Court decision did that. He was talking about the states.
Okay.
And I said, I was like, I get it, because there are certain issues where there have to be exceptions and stuff like that. But look, man, what's the alternative? The Democrats legalize abortion to the point of birth? And he goes, what? No. And I was like, that's the bill they just tried to pass, and Joe Manchin blocked. And he goes, no, that's not true. You got to be wrong. And I said, okay, here, read it. And he read it and he goes, what? And I was like, it says post-viability abortion if the mother's health is threatened, right? And he goes, yeah, that's like a medical issue. And I said, what does post-viability mean? And he's like, what is it? I'm like, it means the baby can survive on its own. And he's like, okay. And then I'm like, here's the CDC definition of abortion. It ends the life of the baby. And then I'm like, this bill legalizes if the mother is in any way at risk, you can terminate the life of a baby that can survive on its own. And he was like, I don't know. This doesn't make sense. This can't be right. And I'm like, bro, I read this stuff all day, every day. I just showed you. What more do you have to say?
Well, it's like 100% agenda setting theory. I mean, it's totally, the mainstream media, the media knows that is not what people should hear to support them. So they just don't cover it. And then people don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, for me, this is one of those things where I didn't get as much pushback on my social media of people talking about Roe v. Wade as much as I thought I would. But there was a couple of people who I was actually surprised talking about it in a sense. And I was going to bring up, I was like, Northam tried to introduce this ages ago. And then you get into what you're talking about. Then you have to have this long conversation with someone. Like, I don't have the time of day, dude. I'm freaking busy during the day. I can't sit here and write and tell somebody what post-birth abortion is. Like, you can't abort something that's been finished. That literally makes no sense. But then I have to explain that to them, and I don't have the time of day to do that. It's
always a two-step process. Yeah. You can't just say what your position is. You have to first explain to them why they're completely misled and confused. And frankly, it's a lot of work, and it's a really good way to lose friends.
And I think that's a big part of the problem is people just don't have the time of day, and doing that communication digitally doesn't help because I know you've talked about a lot. The concept of conversing with someone in person is a lot different than the concept of trying to talk to someone online where there's no context, where there's no tone of voice. Yeah, well, no, even people you agree you generally like or get along with, your tone of voice can't be discerned, your body language can't be discerned, and having such a serious discussion about a topic that important when you've got 20 minutes free on your lunch break isn't viable. It's not a real thing.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Come hang out live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Super Chat will even answer some of your questions. If you want to check out the After Hours Censored Show, go to timcast.com and become a member. We put those up Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. They're very funny, not very family friendly. We'll love to see you there. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.